Khawlah bint al-Azwar, the warrior poetess, who defied empires, 7th-century Arabia's most feared cavalry commander, was a veiled woman on a black mare. In the sweeping sands and shifting alliances of 7th-century Arabia, where empires clashed and legends were forged in fire and steel, one figure rose above the din, not as a king or a caliph, but as a veiled warrior astride a black mare, her blade singing louder than any battle cry. Khawlah bint al-Azwar, poetess, fearless cavalry commander, and defiant icon who shattered the boundaries of gender and expectation. In an age when men ruled the battlefield, she commanded it, earning the dread of enemies and the awe of allies. This is the story of the woman who defied empires, not with a crown but with courage. Desert childhood. Where steel met poetry, Khawlah was born around 600 CE into the Banu Asad, a clan of desert dwellers famed for breeding the fastest horses between Mecca and Najd. Her father, either Malik or Tariq ibn Aws, sources differ, was a chieftain who took the sobriquet al-Azwar, the vigilant. While other girls learned to spin wool, Khawlah learned to spin a lance. Her elder brother Dirar, already a celebrated poet-warrior, refused to leave her behind when he rode to the grazing grounds. By the time she was 15, she could recite 300 lines of Raja's verse without missing a beat, loose 10 arrows in a gallop and plant 3 in the eye slit of a Byzantine helmet, tend a wounded stallion with herbs Dirar himself could not name. The siblings became inseparable, a single blade of 2 edges. The conversion that changed everything. When the Prophet Muhammad began preaching in Mecca, the Banu Asad were among the first tribes to accept Islam. Khawlah's family renounced idolatry overnight. Her mother sold her silver bangles to ransom Muslim prisoners in Mecca. From that moment, Khawlah's art shifted. Her poetry no longer celebrated tribal raids, but sang of a new ummah where the black and the red, the man and the woman stand equal before one God. Poet. Battlefield debut, Ajnadin, 634, CE during the Muslim push into Byzantine Syria. Dirar was captured after his horse stumbled on the rocky ridges near Beit Lahia. Byzantine troops dragged him to their rear camp, certain the Muslim left wing would collapse without its poet commander. Khawlah was nursing the wounded when the news arrived. Without asking permission, she donned Dirar's spare lamellar coat, wrapped his emerald green turban twice around her helmet, and mounted his jet-black mare, al-Muraka, the spotted one. To the army of Khalid ibn al-Walid, she was simply a knight in black, a whirlwind that carved through Byzantine, cataphracts like a hawk among sparrows, al-Waqidis. Chronicle records the moment Khalid caught up with the mysterious rider. We saw him scatter a squadron, disappear, then re-emerge with blood dripping from the point of his spear. I said, "Who is this lion?" He answered only with another charge. When the day ended, the Muslims had retaken the ridge. Dirar was freed, and Khawlah, veil lifted by a gust of wind, stood revealed. Khalid dismounted and proclaimed, "Allahu Akbar." Our victory was woven by a woman's hand. The Yarmouk decisive, commanding women in 636, c. 4 years later, on the plains of Yarmouk. The Byzantine Emperor Heraclius assembled 200,000 troops to crush the Muslim armies once and for all. Khawlah, now 36, led a mobile unit of 30 women, black-clad, bow-armed, patrolling the sandy no-man's land between the two camps. On the 4th day of fighting, a Greek female commander, Penthesilea the Armenian, rode out challenging the Muslims to single combat. Muslim sources describe her as towering in gilded armor. Khawlah answered the challenge. The duel lasted by eyewitness count, the time needed to recite Surat al-Ikhlas 3 times. Khawlah knocked the Greek warrior from her saddle with a blow of her shield, then held the point of her sword at her throat. Instead of killing her, she offered Islam. Penthesilea accepted, later fighting beside her former opponent. Wounded in the same engagement by a Roman javelin, Khawlah still managed to cover the retreat of Muslim scouts, earning her the nickname al-Qana'a, the shield. Captivity and revolt, the camp of the patrician. In a lesser-known skirmish outside Damascus, Khawlah's mare was hamstrung by a hidden ditch. Byzantine troops carried her, unconscious but still clutching her broken spear, to the tent of their patrician. Ancient sources delight in the detail, The patrician, struck by her beauty, ordered silk cushions and a private audience. Khawlah's response was to rally the other female captives, mostly Syrian villagers, handing them tent poles and kitchen knives. Together they killed 5 guards, seized the patrol's horses, and rode through the night to rejoin Khalid's camp. The episode became a staple of Arabic storytellers. She turned tent pegs into lances and fear into strategy. Later life, teacher of generations after Yarmouk, Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab summoned her to Medina. In the Prophet's mosque, she taught newly converted women archery and basic swordplay, insisting that a believing woman's honor is her own to defend. Several traditions attribute to her the line, "I fought so that my daughters may choose whether to fight or to weave." She married a fellow cavalryman, Yasir ibn Amr, and had at least 2 children who carried her standard in later North African campaigns. Poets of the Umayyad court still cited her Rajaz verses 2 centuries later. Death and disappearing grave historical records fall silent around 640 CE. Some say she died of an old wound near Emesa, Homs. Others that she fell in a skirmish in the Jazira. Her grave, if marked, was lost in the shifting sands of the Syrian steppe, a poetic anonymity she might have welcomed. Modern legacy. From postage stamps to parades, Jordan issued a 1996 stamp portraying her on rearing horseback. Saudi Arabia names girls' schools in Riyadh. Jeddah and Hayil after her. UAE opened the Khawlah bint al-Azwar training college. The Gulf's first military academy for women, 1991. Iraq's counterterrorism forces include an all-female battalion bearing her name. Founded 2015, Palestinian scout troops stage annual Khawlah march hikes from Jericho to the Yarmouk Valley. Why her story still matters, Khawlah's life collapses 3 persistent myths. That early Islam confined women to the home. That pre-modern battlefield greatness was a male monopoly. That piety and ferocity cannot coexist in one heart. She rode, fought, healed, taught, and recited poetry in the same week, proving that courage has no gender and honor no single dress code. In an age when Muslim women are again told what they can or cannot be, her answer echoes across 14 centuries. Take up the rein, the pen, the lance, whatever truth asks of you, and ride.